I'm constantly asked by the media. I do interviews, I don't know, 20, 30 radio interviews every week as a libertarian presidential candidate. And they always ask me, why am I qualified to be president of the United States? And I really resent that question. I'll tell you why. I'll give you a great analogy here. I'm a Columbia University graduate, class of '83. Do you know what that means? I graduated with my classmate, Barack Obama. Two classmates from the same college, both political science majors, running for president, and no one in the liberal media ever asked Barack Obama, why are you qualified to be president of the United States? So let's compare my life for the last 25 years since graduation to Barack Obama's life, and let's see who's qualified to be president. In the last quarter century since I got out of Columbia, I've started dozens of businesses, I've risked millions of dollars of my own money, I've created hundreds, if not thousands of jobs, I've made hundreds of payrolls, often as high as $50,000, $100,000 payrolls, and if I couldn't make them, I wrote a personal check to make them or I'd be out of business the next day. But I made sure that my employees were paid whether I was paid or not. I paid millions in taxes, payroll, sales taxes, property taxes, income taxes, and of course, I paid salaries to my employees who then paid their own payroll taxes and income taxes. And since the year 2000, the little business I've created with only 50 employees, quintessential small American business, has spent $60 million. That's what I've pumped into the American economy. Now, I believe there's a tenfold effect when you own a business. Every time I pay an employee, they pay their mortgage, and then the bank has employees and they pay their mortgage, and they go out and they pay doctors, and they go to the movies, and they go to restaurants. I call it the 10 times effect. So my $600 million as a little small businessman with 50 employees has had a $600 million effect on the American economy just since the year 2000. That's why small business is the backbone of America. On the other hand, Barack Obama has done the following for the last 25 years. His first choice was to go to law school. He became a law student. That does nothing for the American economy. He became a teacher. That does nothing for the American economy. Education, very important, but it doesn't create jobs. He became a lawyer. Well, that damages the American economy. He became a local politician, a step worse than a lawyer. That ruins the American economy. And he's proud to say he was a community activist. Ladies and gentlemen, what does that mean? I don't know about you, but I'm not quite sure what is a community activist. I'm too busy making a living to be an activist. I'm too busy making a living to be a protester or a complainer. What I like to say is, if the people who are always in protest marches and who are always complaining, if they just took half that time and instead worked for a living, perhaps they'd have nothing to complain or protest about. Barack Obama has never owned a business, never risked his own money and put his money where his mouth is, never made a single payroll, never paid health insurance for 50 employees, never took a risk, never created a job, never pumped millions into the American economy. He has spent his life protesting and suing and reading about business in books in law school. As a matter of fact, he's actually openly admitted in interviews in the year 2000 he didn't have the money to buy a plane ticket to get to the Democratic National Convention. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the year 2000, only 4 years before he became a U.S. Senator, he had not achieved enough success in life to afford a plane ticket. I think the media should be asking him why he's qualified to run the greatest economy in the world. But you know why the liberal media chooses to ask me why I'm qualified and has no problem accepting the fact that Barack is qualified? Because I went to school with that media. I know them only so well. I know them in ways none of you can even imagine. You see, all my classmates at Columbia, 25 years later, guess where they are? They're running the American media. That's who disseminates your news. That's who gives you their biased liberal opinions every day. And how do I know them? I know them because in 1981, I sat in a political science class at Columbia University with 250 of my fellow students. I can't say for sure, but I assume Barack was in that room with me. And the door burst open, think of the date, 81. And someone ran in, a student out of breath, and he screamed this following news to all the students in that room. President Reagan has been shot and assassinated. Now, we all know today he was not dead, he wasn't actually assassinated, but an attempt was made on his life and he was seriously injured. But that was the first news report that he reported to us. And do you know what 250 kids got up and did? They high-fived and they clapped and they clapped and they screamed and they cheered, yeah, Reagan's dead. Those are the kids that now run the media in the United States of America. And you wonder why a conservative or a libertarian can't get a fair shake. Do you think they might be a bit biased if they root for the death of someone simply because he's a Republican or a conservative? That's why you can't get a fair shake in the media. Now, before you think I'm picking on Barack Obama and my alma mater, Columbia University, let me be an equal opportunity picker. Hillary Clinton is a lawyer and a career politician. She's never created a job in her life. She's lived off taxpayers her entire life. John Edwards, nice hair, but he's a lawyer. He sues people to make a living. He thinks he has the answers to the healthcare crisis. He feels your pain. But the reality is, lawyers like him are the ones causing your pain. These are the people that want to run the United States economy. They've never taken a risk. They've never created a job. They've never run a business in their lives. Now, before you think I'm giving the GOP a pass, let's go over their major candidates. John McCain, Admiral's son, great American hero. I happen to be a huge fan of John McCain and what he's done and sacrificed for our country. I've read every book about him, and I believe he's a great military hero and patriot. But never created a job in his life. Went straight for the Navy. Went straight from the Navy into the United States Congress. Doesn't know anything about jobs. Fred Thompson, an actor who plays people who creates jobs on television. Rudy Giuliani, a lawyer and a prosecutor, knows nothing about creating jobs, went straight from 9/11 to a security business, had business dropped in his lap. He's the front man, gives speeches, and puts his name on the door, but has never run a business, never created a job. And Mitt Romney, who I think certainly serves as the best example of someone running for president who does understand business, let me make a distinction between Mitt Romney and myself. My father wore a white apron with blood on it and cut meat for a living. Mitt Romney's father was the CEO of American Motors. I call that the Lucky Sperm Club. From the moment Mitt Romney was born, he was in big business, whether he wanted it or not. That's why he's worth $250 million today. Every door was open that could possibly be opened for Mitt Romney by his father, the governor of Michigan, the CEO of American Motors, and a presidential candidate. Life's been easy. I had to fight my way from the rough streets of Mount Vernon, New York, to get into Columbia University. No doors were open for me. What I'm trying to say is, how can small business be the backbone of America, the economic engine of America, the driving force of America, and there isn't one candidate out there running for president, one major candidate besides Wayne Allyn Root, who knows anything about small business? Could that be, excuse the pun, the root of our problems? Now, I understand, because I've been in business my whole life, how hard it is to make money, how creative you have to be, how driven you have to be, how tenacious you have to be, how ambitious you have to be, how passionate you have to be. And when you tax someone, you know what you're doing? You're destroying that drive, that ambition, that passion, and you're giving them several choices, all of them bad. Hillary Clinton and all of the liberal politicians think taxes come out of thin air. They don't. You have to find a way to create that money. Now you've got to create new money to pay the taxes. So your choices are either to lose your motivation, to give up, to join the underground economy, perhaps to even leave America to a place where taxes are lower and freedom is more plentiful. Boy, is that a hard one to talk about. Or you've got to raise your prices or fire employees. That's what happens when you raise taxes. They don't grow, money doesn't grow out of trees, but liberal candidates don't realize it has to come from somewhere.